Small does not mean zero, and Canadian astronomer Paul Weird has now concluded that the probability of an impact from the asteroid Apophis is higher than previously estimated. Essentially, the 350-meter-wide projectile will pass close to Earth in April 2029, assuming its trajectory remains unchanged until then. However, that is precisely the crux of the issue. According to Weird, even a collision with a small object could be enough to push Apophis onto an unfortunate path. The fact that we cannot currently assess the real danger makes the situation even more complicated. Unfortunately, the asteroid will not return to our field of vision until 2027. If you like, Apophis holds two records. First, in 2004, it reached the highest value ever recorded on the Turin risk scale. Second, as a so-called killer asteroid, it triggered record-breaking media hysteria. Discovered in June 2004 by astronomers Roy Tucker, David G. Tholen, and Fabrizio Bernard, the space rock quickly gained notoriety for being on a potential collision course with Earth on April 13, 2029, a Friday the 13th no less. The estimated probability of impact was initially placed at 1 in 37, or 2.7%. Furthermore, this risk was not only tied to 2029, but also to the years 2036 and 2068. Fortunately, the media panic and scientific concern have long since subsided. Detailed follow-up observations have now confirmed that Apophis will not come into close contact with Earth in 4 years, unless something happens in the coming months and years that literally throws the asteroid off its current path. However, even in the worst-case scenario, Earth would likely have a lucky escape. In other words, if Apophis were to collide with our planet, the impact would not trigger a global catastrophe like the one that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. The asteroid, with its 350-meter diameter, is simply too small for that. That said, this does not mean the consequences of a direct hit would not be severe. Experts estimate that the resulting impact crater alone would devastate several kilometers of land, and the force of the explosion could destroy an area the size of Central Europe. In terms of raw energy, Apophis would release the equivalent of 900 million tons of TNT, 60,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. However, for an asteroid impact to affect the entire Earth's surface, it would need to carry 100 times more energy. The exact consequences of a hypothetical impact would depend on where Apophis hits. If it were to crash into the ocean rather than land, it could generate a monstrous tsunami over 100 meters high, burying nearby coastlines under devastating waves. Fortunately, we can set aside these grim possibilities for now. As previously mentioned, past trajectory observations confirm that Apophis will pass very close to Earth. In astronomical terms, a hair's breadth distance still means over 30,000 kilometers, bringing the asteroid below the altitude of geostationary satellites. Yet, despite this reassuring data, there remains a small caveat. We will only get definitive confirmation that Apophis will miss Earth if no unforeseen events occur between now and then. Strictly speaking, this is no longer a given. A few years ago, scientists discovered that solar radiation pressure gradually shifts Apophis's orbit by approximately 170 meters per year. While this deviation is not enough to send the asteroid toward Earth in 2029, it could increase the likelihood of an impact in a later pass. This is not the only risk. Paul Weird, an expert in orbital calculations at the University of Western Ontario, warns that even our best projections cannot rule out the possibility of Apophis colliding with a smaller object as it travels through space. But how large would such an object need to be to knock a 350-meter asteroid off course? Probably much smaller than you'd think. NASA provided a real-world demonstration of this principle in the fall of 2022. During the DART mission, a spacecraft was deliberately crashed into the 165-meter-wide asteroid moon, Dimorphos, successfully, altering its orbit. While this test was conducted under controlled conditions, an unintended collision could have much more serious consequences for Apophis. Weird states that even a collision with a small asteroid, similar to those that regularly hit Earth, could generate enough momentum to alter Apophis's trajectory. This is why experts are closely monitoring the situation. However, they face a significant challenge. Apophis has been out of our field of vision since 2021. Currently, the asteroid is too close to the Sun to be observed, even with the most powerful telescopes. This situation will not change until 2027. Until then, any potential changes in its orbit remain unknown. To address this uncertainty, Weird conducted a model simulation to determine what kind of impact could push Apophis onto a dangerous course. First, he calculated the size of a deflecting asteroid required to significantly alter Apophis's trajectory while it remains invisible to us. Previous studies indicate that Apophis's orbit would need to be shifted laterally by about 200 kilometers for it to enter a keyhole, a small zone in space where Earth's gravitational pull could deflect the asteroid just enough in 2029 to set it on a collision course for a later pass in 2036. Weird's calculations led to a surprising conclusion. Even an impact with an object just 60 centimeters across could be enough to push Apophis through the keyhole. Such a collision would alter the asteroid's velocity by approximately 0.003 meters per second, enough to account for the necessary 200-kilometer orbital shift. If Apophis were to hit Earth as early as 2029, however, a much greater force would be required. Specifically, the asteroid's velocity would need to change by 0.05 meters per second. This would require a collision with an object at least 3.4 meters in size. Even then, the timing and direction of the impact would have to be precise. But how likely is such a scenario? In principle, around 140 objects measuring 60 centimeters hit Earth each year, while only one object measuring 3.4 meters impacts the planet annually. Given Apophis's relatively small cross-section, the probability of such an impact is reduced even further. Weird calculates that the probability of Apophis being deflected into the keyhole by a collision is just 1 in 1 million. The risk of an impact in 2029 is even lower. The chance of Apophis colliding with a 3.4-meter asteroid is just 1 in 100 million. Furthermore, since only about 5% of such impacts would produce the necessary momentum shift, the probability of this specific event occurring is less than 1 in 2 billion. In conclusion, while the risk of impact can confidently be described as very low does not mean zero. At present, we cannot completely rule out an impact. If fate were to intervene, all mathematical predictions would become irrelevant. For now, experts are prepared to measure Apophis's trajectory with extreme precision once it reappears in our field of vision in February 2027. A deviation of even a few tenths of an arcsecond could indicate an orbital disturbance. However, this would not necessarily mean the asteroid is on a collision course. Amidst all the impact speculation, it is worth remembering that Apophis is not just a potential threat, it is also an extraordinary scientific opportunity. An asteroid of this size passes this close to Earth only once every 100 years. This presents researchers with a rare chance to study a near-Earth asteroid up close, not just through Earth-based telescopes, but via direct observation. Experts are currently developing a small satellite that will accompany Apophis during its Earth flyby, gathering valuable new data. And on that note, if you'd like to stay updated on such fascinating space discoveries, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We'd love to have you as part of our community. We'll see you in the next video.